Caring Review, print speaking to the blind, celebrating 40 years of audio newspaper production. Welcome to this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast, recorded at the Bishop Briggs Media Centre by our amazing volunteers. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram using @QandReview. That is @CUEANDREVIEW. You can also contact us directly by emailing information@QandReview.com. That is INFORMATION@CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling 0141 772 3976. That's 0141 772 3976.
From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 24th of July 2025, from the Culture section. McAvoy film shot in city to premiere in Toronto. The author of this article is unattributed. James McAvoy's movie, California Schemin', will have its world premiere at Toronto International Film Festival, it has been announced. The film, which saw the Drumchapel-born actor make his directorial debut, will have a special presentation at the 50th edition of the festival. It is set to take place from September the 4th to 14th this year, but the exact date of the premiere has not been revealed. The full schedule will be released on August the 12th. Announcing the news on Instagram, McAvoy wrote, "A huge thank you to our phenomenal cast, tireless crew, producers and every single person who poured their talent into this. He spent weeks in Glasgow filming the movie last year." Based on a true story, California Schemin' centres around Gavin Bain and Billy Boyd, who are fed up of London record producers not taking Scottish rap seriously and dismissing them as rapping proclaimers. Better known as Silly Bill and Brains, the duo soon embark on a remarkable journey, rapping alongside Eminem, partying backstage with Madonna, and being tippers amongst the next generation of rising stars. Filming for the movie took place in Glasgow in November last year, at locations including the Barras Market, Queen Street train station, Glasgow Green, Park Circus and Mary Hill, with McAvoy pictured at various locations around the city. A free noughties themed gig also took place at the Barrowland Ballroom as part of filming. The author of that article was unattributed. It was read by me, Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 24th of July 2025, from the news section. Out-of-school care centre near Glasgow fails legal inspection report. Article written by Stuart Patterson. An out-of-school care centre has been issued with an improvement notice and warned it must comply with instructions. Bearsden before and after school has been told it does not meet current regulations and has been issued with a series of actions to complete within 2 months. It has been warned if it does not comply and make significant improvements, it could be shut down. The care inspectorate issued its findings in the service based at Bearsden Ski Club, Stockymere Road. The centre is owned and managed by Scott Nursing and Medical Services Limited. The company said it is putting in place a plan to address the issues raised in the inspection. It failed in a number of categories, including personal plans for children, medication procedures and staff training. The improvement notice informed the centre it must ensure that every child attending the service has their own individual personal plan, ensure personal plans include all aspects of the child's health, welfare and safety needs, and how the service intends to meet these needs, demonstrate that there is a system in place which ensures personal plans are reviewed and updated every 6 months or before, depending on the needs of the individual children. The provider must develop a safe and effective medication procedure that supports children's individual health needs. It was informed, where more than one improvement is specified, failure to demonstrate compliance with any one of the improvements within the required timescale may result in us proceeding to make a proposal to cancel registration. For staff training, it stated the centre must demonstrate that there is a system in place to ensure, at all times, that there are suitably qualified and competent individuals working in the care service in such numbers as are appropriate for the health, well-being and safety of the children. Provide training for staff, including but not limited to child protection, first aid and infection prevention and control. A spokesperson from Scott Nursing and Medical Services Limited said, "We are in the process of implementing a robust improvement plan to address all areas identified in the notice. We will formally respond to the Care Inspectorate by its 30th of September deadline and are confident we can demonstrate we have met its requirements. The actions we have taken include the recruitment of 2 additional staff members who will join us at the start of term and confirmation our managerial staff are registered with the appropriate regularity body. We are also preparing to roll out additional training and are currently reviewing and updating personnel plans and procedures. This demonstrates our commitment to quality care provision." That article was written by Stuart Patterson and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 24th of July 2025, from the news section. Palestine protester to appeal Orwellian ban, by Stuart Patterson. A man who has been banned from the city centre after he was arrested for displaying a sign condemning Israel's military action in Palestine said he will be appealing the decision. Sean Clerkin, 64, was arrested last Friday in Glasgow when he displayed a sign that said "Genocide in Palestine, time to take action," with the words "Palestine in action" in larger letters than the rest. Police said it showed support for Palestine Action, a group that is proscribed in the UK under the Terrorism Act, and he was arrested. He said, given the number of arrests across the UK, he fears freedom of speech is under attack. Mr Clerkin was given bail, and he had to sign an undertaking not to enter the city centre until his court appearance later in the year. He has said it is draconian and has engaged a solicitor to challenge it. The activist said, "I can't enter the city centre, but I can speak out against the ban." The activist, who is campaign coordinator for the Scottish Tenants Organisation, spoke to the Glasgow Times at a location outside the zone he's excluded from to tell of the impact it will have on his voluntary work and family life. Clerkin said, "What I was doing was speaking out against the genocide and killing of children." He also said he is not a supporter of Palestine Action or its methods, but said the group should be proscribed. The group was banned under the Terrorism Act after members broke into an RAF base in England, causing damage. Clerkin said, "I qualify my support in saying I support de-proscription as a terrorist organisation, but I don't support them doing criminal damage. I don't agree with the destruction of property. I am not a member of Palestine Action. I am not a supporter of Palestine Action." Mr Clerkin said there are wider implications for democracy in the UK following a number of arrests of people alleged to have shown support for the organisation. He said, "This is a battle for freedom of speech. Civil liberties are being attacked. If this is not the start of the road to a politicised police state, I don't know what is." He fears other groups will be targeted for the same treatment. He said, "Where does it stop? This is Orwellian. It is 1984 in operation." The protester said he was treated very well by the police when he was detained, but he worries how the police are being directed by the government. He added, "This is policing like Soviet-era Eastern European regime standards." His exclusion zone extends from Charing Cross in the west to beyond Glasgow Cross in the east, and from Renfrew Street in the north to the south of the River Clyde. He said it will have a disproportionate effect on his life. Mr Clerkin said, "It is my daughter's birthday next week. To go and see her, I'm going to think about how I can get there, as I can't even travel through the city centre on public transport. It could end up costing me a lot more than it should. I regularly meet tenants and people with homelessness issues in the city centre and represent people at meetings and hearings. If he is found guilty, he faces up to 14 years in jail." He said, "I'm not guilty of any crime. All I did was hold a poster. I hope sanity will prevail and the rule of law will prevail. I want a jury trial. If the penalty can be a lengthy jail sentence, it should be in a verdict based on the judgment of my peers." That article was written by Stuart Patterson. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 24th of July 2025, from the news section. Plea over unexplained death of Glasgow's Johnny Connolly, 6 years on. Article written by Nicole Mitchell. A community Facebook page is calling for anyone with information about the tragic death of Johnny Connolly to come forward. The 28-year-old from Milton was reported missing by his family when he didn't return home from a day out with his friend in the city centre on July 15th, 2019. His body was recovered from the water at Spears Wharf a week later, 6 years ago on July 22nd. We previously reported Johnny had injuries to his head and body, with the police developing a theory he had been attacked at the motorway underpass at Cowcaddens on the day he went missing. Officers made several appeals over the unexplained death, but they have confirmed inquiries have been completed and no one has been charged in connection. Community Facebook page No One Seems to Care posted on the anniversary of Johnny's body being discovered, urging anyone with information to come forward. They said, July 22nd, 2019 was the start of a living nightmare for the Connolly family. 6 long years later and they still don't have answers, justice and closure. Someone knows something. Speak out, do the right thing and give Johnny's family closure. A Police Scotland spokesperson said, Our sympathies remain with the family of John Connolly, who have been looking for answers in his death in 2019. Inquiries have been completed at this time, and no one has been charged in relation to the death. Any new information received in relation to this inquiry will be investigated thoroughly. The Glasgow Times reported in 2023 a poster, which appeared to be from the Connolly family, was posted in a shop window on Cambridge Street appealing for information. It read, 4 years on, we still have no answers or justice. Johnny went missing on July 15th, 2019. The Monday after transmit, he had injuries to his head and torso before being found dead a week later on the 22nd of July 2019 in Spears Wharf Canal. Who done this to him, we need to know. Why was Johnny's life taken from him? He was son, brother, nephew and uncle. We need answers. Please help us. The poster asked anyone with information about Johnny's death to contact Maryhill Police Station on 01786 289 070. Alternatively, Crime Stoppers can be contacted anonymously on 0800 555 111. Johnny was last seen at around 10 p.m. on the day he went missing, walking along in Buchanan Street past Buchanan Galleries and the bus station, before going on to Dunstavale Court and into the underpass at Garscube Road leading to Spears Wharf in the Cowcaddens area at around 10:20 p.m. He was wearing a black Adidas hoodie top with white stripes down the sleeves, black jogging trousers and royal blue coloured Nike trainers. And that article was written by Nicole Mitchell and read by E. McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 24th of July 2025, from the news section. Warmer homes for residents as part of £90 million investment. The author of this article is unattributed. New windows and doors have been installed to North Lanarkshire homes as part of a £90.6 million investment from the council. The new installations form part of North Lanarkshire Council's Housing Revenue Account HRA capital programme for 2025-26. The council has awarded a £28 million contract to Sidey Solutions to fit high quality windows and doors across hundreds of homes until January 2027. This is part of a broader £45 million investment in triple glazed windows and high performance doors. Muir Hill tenant Joan Keenan shared her positive experience. She said, "The new windows and door have made a huge difference, and although just fitted a few weeks ago, my home already feels so much warmer and brighter. The fitters were brilliant and were finished in just a few hours and didn't leave any mess. They even managed to do it all without disturbing my garden, which I really appreciated." Councillor Michael McPake, convener of housing, added, "This major investment will make a real and lasting difference to our tenants, keeping their homes safer, warmer and more energy efficient. It's fantastic to visit residents like Joan, and see how these upgrades are already improving daily life. We're delivering on our promise to modernise our housing stock and support our communities with high quality, energy efficient homes. The author of that article was unattributed. It was read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 24th of July 2025, from the news section. Work to transform Byres Road will start next month. Work to transform the top section of Byres Road will start next month. From the junction at University Avenue / Highborough Road to Great Western Road, the famous West End Street will undergo a redevelopment. The changes will see the work that has already been done to the southern stretch of the street continue northwards. It will include the continuation of the segregated cycle lanes, creating a link from Great Western Road at the Botanic Gardens to Dumbarton Road, which then links to the wider city cycle routes and the National Cycle Network. Pavements will be widened to create more space for pedestrians in the street that is busy with cafes, bars, restaurants and shops. It will also shorten crossing points to make it easier for people to get from one side of the road to the other, and step-free crossings on the side streets. There will be work at key corners along the street to put seating in place, similar to work done further down the street. The project has been mostly funded through the Glasgow City Region City Deal, which also funds the City Centre Avenues project. Glasgow City Council said the work on the southern half of Byres Road and Church Street has been a success, which has led to fewer empty retail units. The work will take 2 years, with a completion date of August 2027. Angus Miller, Transport Convener at Glasgow City Council, said, "The first phase of the public realm improvement works at Byres Road has been a great success, creating a more attractive environment for residents, businesses and visitors. The second phase of these works will extend the transformation of this key street, upgrading pavements and improving the pedestrian experience, as well as introducing safer cycle infrastructure and greater greenery in the area." The author of that article was unattributed. It was read by me, Ian. From the Glasgow Times, Thursday the 24th of July 2025, from the news section. £1 million surprise for charities. Article written by Santaya Suresh. Several charities across Scotland will share £1 million in surplus funds following the sale of a historic Glasgow care home. Balmoral House was a registered charity that provided residential care in the city's West End for more than 200 years. The home went into administration in April 2023 and efforts were made to ensure a smooth relocation of residents to other care facilities. After receiving a considerable amount of interest, the property was sold to RSD Property Holdings Limited for residential development. The undisclosed sale amount ensured all creditors at the time of administration were paid in full, including statutory interest, redundancy pay, and other entitlements for former staff. The insolvency process transitioned to a liquidation to wrap up the company's affairs and distribute funds to creditors. Blair Milne and James Fennessy, joint liquidators and partners with the accountancy firm Assets, are overseeing the distribution of the surplus funds to various charities in line with the wishes of the Balmoral House trustees. Mr. Milne, head of restructuring and insolvency in Scotland, at Assets said, "It gives me great pleasure to see such a substantial sum being made available for distribution to charity. It is very rare for all creditors to receive full repayment together with interest from any insolvency process, let alone such a substantial sum being made available to charities." Alan Carrick, speaking on behalf of the Board of Trustees, said, "The former trustees of Balmoral House are delighted with the outcome of the administration and subsequent liquidation, and are very pleased that so many deserving charities of their choice will benefit from the distribution of the surplus funds." Mr. Milne thanked the trustees for their role in the process. He said, "I would like to express my thanks to the Board of Trustees for their actions and their support prior to the administration appointment and throughout the insolvency process. The actions of the trustees, particularly in seeking early advice on cash flow management, helped ensure an orderly winding down of the care home operation, an optimal outcome from the sale of the company's property asset, and ultimately a substantial sum being distributed to charity at the end of the process. The charities benefiting from the funds include Glasgow East End Community Carers, Able to Sail, St Francis Care Home, Crossreach, Association for the Relief of Infirmity in the West of Scotland, Ayrshire Hospice, Tenevis Scotland Strathclyde, Glasgow Children's Hospital, and the Prince and Princess of Wales Hospice. That article was written by Santaya Suresh. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 26th of July 2025, from the news section. Construction has begun on a unique housing scheme in Glasgow. Report by Beth Oliver. Barnardo's has launched a new housing programme to support young people at risk of homelessness. Construction has begun on 5 gap homes in Glasgow, designed to help young people leaving the care system transition to independent living. The project is being delivered in partnership with Glasgow City Council and Innovate Homes. Gary Myatt, Managing Director at Innovate Homes, said, "At Innovate Homes, we are proud to partner with Barnardo's on this meaningful project. By delivering the 5 quality gap homes through off-site construction, we're helping to provide young people with safe, sustainable spaces to thrive as they transition into independence." Councillor Rory Kelly, Convener for Housing and Development at Glasgow City Council, said, "These gap homes in Glasgow will be very important for young people moving out of the care system and will provide a key path towards independent living and a long-term higher quality of life." Barnardo's Scotland's purpose-built gap homes offer high-quality, affordable housing within established communities and include ongoing support from the charity. The scheme was developed in response to a shortage of suitable accommodation and support for care leavers, a gap that increases the risk of homelessness. Each resident can stay in a gap home for up to 2 years, with Barnardo's offering flexible tenancies tailored to the individual needs. Elizabeth McShane, UK Head of Business for Gap Homes at Barnardo's, said, "We are absolutely delighted to mark the start of the Gap Homes programme in Glasgow. Gap homes are transformational, having a profound and positive impact on the lives of young people. It can be very difficult for young people leaving care to live alone for the first time, especially when it comes to running a home on a limited budget. Gap homes creates a safe and stable environment in which young people can thrive. The programme has been funded through an £18 million donation from the Catherine Martin Charitable Trust, the largest in Barnardo's history. This will support the creation of 50 homes across the UK. John Richards, Chair of Trustees at the Catherine Martin Charitable Trust, said, "We believe that every young person deserves a safe, stable home, and we are proud to support Barnardo's in their efforts to provide just that." Additional funding for the Glasgow development has come from the Albert Hunt Trust and the Garfield Weston Foundation. Jane Della Ray, Operations Manager at the Albert Hunt Trust, said, "The Albert Hunt Trust recognises the importance of a safe, secure home for young people leaving care and is pleased to support the Gap Homes development in Glasgow." That report was written by Beth Oliver and read by E. McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 26th of July 2025, from the news section. Glasgow care home praised by former First Minister. Article written by Beth Oliver. A care home has been praised by a former First Minister in celebration of its 25th anniversary. Florence House in Govan, part of Oakminster Healthcare, has been recognised by Humza Yousaf in a motion submitted to the Scottish Parliament marking the home's 25 years of service. The Scottish Parliament motion highlighted Florence House's recent Care Inspectorate report, which praises the care that it was providing across the board. It also noted the variety of activities offered to residents, including cooking classes, silent discos, fitness sessions, games cafes and football activities, all aimed at supporting mobility and cognitive well-being. Nick McLean, manager at Florence House, said, "Many of our residents, particularly those in our young, physically disabled YPD unit, have deep roots in Govan. It's where they grew up. went to school and built their lives. Keeping them connected to the community isn't just a nice idea, it's essential to their well-being. We are proud to provide a space where residents still feel part of the wider world around them. The care home's links with the wider community were also noted in the parliamentary motion, which described its work with groups such as the Govern's Men's Shed, Gilded Lily and local walking groups. Sunita Poddar, Chief Executive Officer and founder of Oakminster Healthcare, said, "We were very honoured to see Humza Yousaf MSP lodge a motion at the Scottish Parliament to celebrate Florence House turning 25 years old. Since her doors first opened, we've been at the heart of the Govan community. Whether through partnerships with local groups like the Men's Shed and walking clubs, or through our dedicated staff who consistently go above and beyond to support residents and their families. We take immense pride in the contributions we make to our community. We would like to thank Mr Yousaf for his kind words and look forward to continuing to serve the Govan community for many years to come." Among the team at Florence House is wellbeing enabler Andrew Blake, who was nominated for a National Care Award in 2023. His nomination recognised his efforts in connecting residents with community groups and creating meaningful engagement opportunities. That article was written by Beth Oliver and read by me, Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 26th of July 2025, from the news section, hundreds gather in Glasgow to oppose mass deportation rally. The author of this article is unattributed. Hundreds of protesters gathered in Glasgow city centre to oppose a mass deportation rally organised by UKIP. The party's latest leader Nick Tinconi, has organised what has been called a mass deportation tour in cities across the UK. UKIP previously gave notice that it intended to hold a march and rally in Glasgow city centre today, July 26th. Ahead of the event, Tinconi posted on X, "Patriots stand with us on Saturday at 1:30pm in Glasgow. Join us in our crusade to liberate Scotland." A crowd of around 150 people taking part gathered outside the AC Hotel in City Chambers on George Street on Saturday afternoon. They sang Rule Britannia and chanted "Send them home," while holding signs with slogans including "Secure our borders" and "Being white is not a white hate crime." The section of George Street where the crowd was gathered was closed by police, with pedestrians trying to pass the crowd told to use a detour. This was met with frustration by some who wanted to join the rally. Meanwhile, hundreds of anti-racism protesters gathered on Buchanan Street from around 12pm to protest the demo. The Glasgow Times previously reported Stand Up to Racism had organised a counter-demonstration to halt the march. The large crowd was heard chanting, "Say it loud and say it clear, refugees are welcome here." The crowd held signs up, statements such as "We're no island of strangers," "Stop Racist Reform UK" and "Migrants make our NHS." The UKIP march initially intended to travel along Montrose Street, Cochrane Street, George Street South, St Vincent Place, St Vincent Street, up West Nile Street, round Nelson Mandela Place, and back into West George Street, George Square North, George Street, High Street, Castle Street, before ending at Glasgow Cathedral. However, it's understood they were rerouted along quieter streets as the two groups were kept separate. We previously reported Dan Hutchison, Green Councillor for Govan, had written to Glasgow City Council's Chief Executive, Suzanne Miller, and Director of Legal and Administration, Marie Miller, to ask that an order is made to prohibit the dangerous march on the grounds of protecting public safety and public order. He said, "I believe the actions and words of the organisers are an incitement to violence and a risk to public safety and order on our streets." UKIP used phrases like, "These streets are our streets and we will protect ourselves." Well, they aren't their streets, they belong to the people of Glasgow. And we don't want fascists calling for our friends and neighbours to be deported. UKIP has never had any elected representatives in Glasgow, and at the general election last year, it did not stand any candidates in the city. The author of that article was unattributed. It was read by me, Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday 26th of July, news. Investigation after car set on fire on Paisley Street. Report by Nicole Mitchell. An investigation has been launched after a car was set on fire in a residential street in Paisley. At around 1 a.m. on Wednesday, July 16, a blue Volkswagen Gold was deliberately set alight on Deanwood Avenue. The Scottish Fire and Rescue Service attended and extinguished the blaze. There were no injuries as a result of the incident. Police are now appealing for anyone who was in the area at the time to get in touch. Detective Constable Jack McKelvey said, "Our inquiries are ongoing into this incident, and I am asking anyone who might have been in the area and saw something to get in touch. Similarly, anyone in the area with private CCTV or dashcam footage that might have captured anything that could be useful in our investigation is urged to contact us. Anyone with information is asked to contact police via 101, quoting incident number 0180 of July 16. Alternatively, Crime Stoppers can be contacted anonymously on 0800 555 111. And that article was by Nicole Mitchell. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 26th of July 2025, from the news section. Man charged in connection with death of Shona Stevens. Article written by Nicole Mitchell. A man has been charged in connection with the death of a woman more than 30 years ago. Shona Stevens, 31, was found badly injured on a footpath to the rear of Alder Green in the Bournetree Hill Park area near her home in Irvine on November the 10th, 1994. She later died in hospital. The Glasgow Times reported on Friday that a 67-year-old man had been arrested in connection with her death. Police confirmed he has now been charged. He is due to appear at Kilmarnock Sheriff Court on Monday, July 28th. Senior Investigation Officer Detective Chief Inspector Stuart Gillies thanked those who helped with an investigation into Shona's death. He said, "I would like to thank the members of the local community who assisted us in our inquiries. I am grateful for their information and input, which greatly contributed to our investigation." That article was written by Nicole Mitchell. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 26th of July 2025, from the news section, exclusive. Man hits out at unbelievable state of Glasgow cemetery, by Ava White. A concerned resident is urging the council to take action and do something about the unbelievable state of a graveyard in North Glasgow. The man, who asked not to be named, has a family member buried in Lamhill Cemetery and says he has been going there to pay his respects for more than 30 years. He explained that over the past few decades he has seen a variety of changes at the graveyard and is disgusted at its current condition. The man claims that bins have been left to overflow at times and a large number of headstones are lying on the ground. He said, "I've been up and down every week for the past 30 years, so I've seen all the changes. I think it's disgusting the way those cemeteries have been left. The amount of headstones lying on the ground is unbelievable. Sometimes the grass is overgrown and almost covers them. Cemeteries should always be looked after, but they're not. I spoke to the staff who work at the yard near the main gate, but they are not in charge of the people who cut the grass. They're in charge of the people who deal with the burials. They don't go around cutting the grass or emptying the bins. That's not their job, it's the council's. If you went outside of Glasgow, you would see that cemeteries are looked after much better. The council are not looking after the graveyard, and it's disgusting." Glasgow City Council stated that the headstones lying on the ground are a combination of historical vandalism and ongoing memorial safety inspections. The local authority noted that these memorials are family owned and, as such, are the responsibility of the families to repair and maintain them. The council spokesperson added, "We have previously carried out the sinking in of memorials using a volunteering programme, but unfortunately, this was stopped due to the pandemic. It is our intention to look at starting this programme again, and the Western Necropolis Complex will be one of the cemeteries we will be looking to improve through such a programme." A further area of concern for the man is a reported lack of grass cutting and a blue dye which appeared on a number of headstones in the cemetery recently. The situation reportedly got to the point where he was cutting the grass and sorting the weeds himself. The man added, "I used to take a small battery-operated grass cutter up with me, and I was cutting around 9 plots to one side of my mother's grave, and 5 or 6 to the other side, as well as behind them to tidy them up. I kept it looking nice, and every time I did it, the guys who come round in the lawnmowers cut over it. It left a trail of grass, and I was having to sweep that up. I even had to put weed colour down on the road next to the plot as the weeds were growing out of it. It's a total shambles. Someone also told me last week that there are headstones covered in a blue dye that workers were cleaning this up. To see it in such a state makes me feel sick." Images taken by the Glasgow Times show headstones covered in the blue dye. The council confirmed that it's a specially formulated dye used when workers apply herbicide. It is used to identify which headstones have been treated and should typically be washed away when it rains. A GCC spokesperson commented, "We use a specially formulated dye when applying herbicide to help us clearly identify which headstones have already been treated. This practice ensures the safe, efficient and targeted use of herbicides across the site. On occasion, there may be some minor drift of the herbicide which can affect adjacent headstones. However, this is typically washed away naturally during periods of rainfall. It is important to note that there is no lasting or detrimental effect on the surface of the headstones. We are always mindful of this and take great care to minimise any such occurrences as much as possible." And that article was an exclusive written by Ava White. From the Glasgow Times, Saturday the 26th of July 2025, from the news section, Scottish firm Albert Bartlett proposal for Airdrie given the go-ahead. Article written by Neil McGrory. An Airdrie factory which manufactures potato products will be allowed to install a wind turbine to generate electricity. Planning officers at North Lanarkshire Council have granted an application from Albert Bartlett proposing the 90-metre tall turbine with a rated output of 1 megawatt. The factory, which is located off Stirling Road, is a few hundred metres from the villages of Glen Mavis and Stand. During the consultation phase of the application, an objection was initially received from Cumbernauld Airport, but this was withdrawn on further review. No other objections were received, although the Council's Protective Services Department requested that the condition be attached to the planning permission, requiring emission levels are constrained. No objections were received from members of the public. The turbine will have an operational lifespan of 40 years, and the development will also include a hard standing area at the turbine base, an electrical substation and buried cables, as well as temporary areas during construction. A report on the decision gave thorough consideration to the potential visual impact of the turbine on its surrounding area, as well as various other aspects such as any flooding issues at the site, impact on aviation and telecommunications, noise, shadow flicker, and noise. The report concludes that the turbine could be accommodated without significant adverse effects, although a significant list of conditions is attached to the planning permission, including a requirement to remove the turbine after the 40-year operational period, traffic management measures, and a plan to ensure aviation safety is not impaired. That article was written by Neil McGrory. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 28th of July 2025, from the news section. Major improvements for Eastwood bus service after timetable change. Report by Aidan MacDonald. Major improvements have been confirmed for an Eastwood bus service. Towards the end of April, First Glasgow implemented the revised timetables with the objective of making the routes more dependable for commuters. Before the changes were introduced, the bus company conceded in an email to local MSP, Jackson Carlaw, that the performance of the services had fallen below the standards rightly expected by passengers. In a recent letter to Carlaw, First Glasgow confirmed that the amended timetables have resulted in considerably more services running on time, with a 32.8% improvement in punctuality for the 4A. On the number 4 service, there has been a 27.5% punctuality improvement. The improvements on the two eastward routes are better than for the wider Glasgow region as a whole, with punctuality increasing on average by 13.5%. The 4A provides public transport for the village for Eaglesham. The number 4 service stops at various locations in Eastwood, including Mayor's Cross and Clarkson Toll. Carlaw said, "Many of my constituents in Eastwood are dependent on First Glasgow delivering reliable 4 and 4A services. For a very long period of time there's been major issues with delays or buses not turning up at all, and I made clear that action was needed to start turning this unacceptable situation around. Eaglesham is poorly served by public transport links with the village, not having a train station, and a reliable 4A service is critical for day-to-day lives of people who are resident in this part of Eastwood. The stated improvements in the reliability of the 4 and 4A services is a very welcome development. The key aim of revising the timetables was to deliver a more reliable bus network for passengers, and the punctuality improvements reported by First Glasgow clearly represent a significant enhancement to local service provision. It is important for the recent punctuality improvements to be maintained and, if possible, bettered in the coming weeks and months." That article was written by Aidan MacDonald and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 30th of July 2025, from the news section, "Community comes together after church ransacked," by Emily Moore. A church has thanked the community for its support after an alleged break-in left its building significantly damaged. Churchgoers at Dalmuir Barclay Church were left upset after entering the building to find the fire door open and possessions allegedly taken. Councillor Fiona Henbury, who volunteers and is an elder of the church, says they have been left picking up the pieces. Speaking to the Glasgow Times, she said, "It's been a nightmare. 2 cleaners were going to get the set up just for the week ahead, and just noticed that the fire exit was open. As they went through the building, they noticed it had been ransacked. When I got there, they had already phoned the police, but when I saw the extent of it, I just phoned again and said, 'Look, this isn't just a break-in, we need CID. All the internal cupboard doors were damaged, so they've not been in with any tools or anything. They've literally pulled open the doors because they're double locked. They've snapped the wood on them, and they're thick fire doors. They're not the cheapest to replace. Every single cupboard needs a new door on it. The door to the Minister Registry was battered in with a fire extinguisher, so the whole frame of that door is damaged. I just feel that if they'd come and spoken to us, we would have absolutely helped them. They didn't have to do this.' One churchgoer who works as a community champion at Clydebank Asda was able to top up the church's food pantry with donations collected by the supermarket. After a community champion at the Morrisons in Annisland heard about the incident, they also helped deliver 2 trolleys of food. Councillor Henbury says the church is beyond grateful for the kindness of the community. She added, "The community and the police have been phenomenal. The money that was going to be used to buy the food for this week was taken. We just said we were closed for the clear-up, and then Mary Ann, the community champion at Asda, contacted me to say she started a food drive for us. Then Kathy and Morrison's in Annisland contacted me to say she'd collected 2 trolleys, so people done it off their own back. Jim McLaren contacted us and has started a wee box in the foyer as Golden Friendship for us. As well as that, we've had a few personal donations handed in and some cash into the bank account that's been paid in. We are back open on Thursday night and everybody is welcome. We are there for the whole community." A 40-year-old man has been arrested and charged in connection with 3 break-ins to religious premises in Clydebank. The man is believed to have appeared at Glasgow Sheriff Court on Monday. That report was written by Emily Moore. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 30th of July 2025, from the news section, "Former Rangers star Colin Hendry admits harassing ex-partner." This article is unattributed. Former Rangers player Colin Hendry has been given a 12-month community order and a restraining order for harassing his ex-partner. The 59-year-old ex-Central defender, who helped Blackburn win the Premier League title and captained Scotland at the 1998 World Cup, was sentenced at Preston Magistrates Court on Wednesday. Hendry had admitted harassment of his former partner over a period of 6 months after the relationship ended. Natasha Clark, Senior Crown Prosecutor for the Crown Prosecution Service North West, said, Colin Hendry has harassed a former partner for over 6 months after the relationship ended after she stopped returning his calls. He ignored her wishes and breached boundaries she put in place, using multiple different platforms to contact her. Hendry's behaviour was intimidating and persistent, causing the victim immense distress, but, despite this, he initially refused to accept it was harassment. This outcome is a clear indication that the CPS will not hesitate to prosecute anyone guilty of harassment, whether this is in person or online. The court heard Hendry sent his ex messages from multiple different email accounts, utilising no caller ID to call her after she blocked his number. When his calls went unanswered, he turned to other means, including dozens of emails and messaging her on LinkedIn. After her saying she no longer wanted any kind of relationship with him, Hendry consistently attempted to contact her, showing up to her house with unwanted gifts and flowers on several occasions. The victim reported Hendry to the police, saying she felt depressed and anxious because of his behaviour. She said she was unable to leave the house without fearing an unannounced visit from him. Lancashire police contacted Hendry to warn him about his behaviour, telling him to stop all communications to the ex-partner, which were unwanted. While Hendry admitted to his conduct, he tried to deny it was harassment, claiming he had never received a written warning from police, so continued to contact her, and that he was simply concerned for the affected person and her dog. He later admitted one count of harassment without violence. Hendry started his football career with Dundee, before moving to Blackburn in 1987, and then on to Manchester City 2 years later. He rejoined Rovers for a second stint in 1991, and was a key part of the title-winning team 4 years later, before spending 18 months in the Scottish Premiership with Rangers toward the end of the 1990s. The author of that article is unattributed. It was read by me, Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 30th of July 2025. From the news section, exclusive. Glasgow business forces to close due to Scottish waterworks. By Morgan Carmichael. The future of a Glasgow business is uncertain after ongoing Scottish waterworks have forced it to temporarily close. Beer Below has shut its West Regent Street doors after the road was closed between Hope Street and Renfield Street to all traffic. This was done on July the 7th to address property and Network Rail tunnel flooding in the area. Part of the road closure is outside Beer Below, and the bar's entrance has been fenced off, and some footpaths leading to the establishment have been closed. Works are expected to last until the end of September. Nunzio Russo, owner of Bar Below, told the Glasgow Times that the bar has seen a rapid decline in footfall as a result, and has to close. He added, "The business is already gone as far as I'm concerned, especially since the city centre is already so quiet. When we can finally reopen again, we'll have to try to make back everything we have lost during the closure, which will be a big operation for us. This has been a lot of stress, and even my family are stressed out of their boxes. It's tough." Due to the lack of income but the ongoing need to pay rent, 3 members of Beer Below staff have been let go, much to Nuncio's anguish. He went on to say he may ask his landlord for some leeway in rent payments. He added, "To keep the business afloat and staff paid without being fully operational is just not something I think is sustainable." Though the business received a letter from Scottish Water to inform him of the work before it took place, Nunzio said that the note detailed the bar's entrance would be blocked in any way, or that his business would be affected. Nunzio also owns Mediterranean restaurant Roots Bar and Brasserie, based on Renfield Street, which has been affected by the works too. Unlike Beer Below, people can enter Roots as the entrance is clear of any apparatus. However, due to the surrounding fencing and signs in the vicinity, Nunzio said his business now lacks visibility to the wider public and he has lost customers. This has meant that Roots has had to reduce its opening hours. While they remain open all weekend, they are only open during lunchtime on weekdays. The staff are so worried about if they're going to have a job in the future, Nunzio said. He added, I'm not sure if we're going to be able to keep running the business or keep staff in work. It is causing everybody a lot of stress. Cockab Stewart MSP has been helping Nunzio and pushing Scottish Water to resolve the matter. She said, I was very concerned to hear about the significant disruption to Mr. Russell's business as a result of the ongoing works being carried out by Scottish Water. I was first made aware of these concerns on Friday the 25th of July and have since raised the issue directly with Scottish Water. They have assured me that they are treating this as a matter of priority. While I fully recognise the importance of essential public works, they should not come at the expense of local residents and businesses. I urge Scottish Water to constructively engage with Mr. Russo to minimise any further distress. Scottish Water said they have implemented mitigation measures to help advertise that this and other businesses remain open in the area. They anticipate finishing the work during August. A Scottish Water spokesperson said, members of the project team have met with the owner of this business to understand the circumstances that the business is facing and have implemented mitigation measures to help advertise that this and other businesses remain open in the area. We appreciate that there is inconvenience caused by these essential works to help reduce the risk of sewer flooding, though these are necessary and will bring long-term benefits to the wider community. We will continue to work with local residents and business owners to help minimise any disruption for the duration of this major investment project. That article was an exclusive written by Morgan Carmichael and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 28th of July 2025, from the news section. Man banned from Bon Hill for brandishing knife at ex. Article written by Tristan Stewart Robertson. An OAP who attacked his ex has been banned from an Alexandria neighbourhood for 5 years. Alistair Hendry had been in a relationship that ended in 2022, but he and his ex continued living together into the next year. Then, on May 23rd this year, there was a barbecue with a family friend that continued into the late evening. Hendry then entered the bedroom holding a kitchen knife at shoulder height. The 71-year-old turned to the family friend and said, "You better leave." His ex asked him not to speak to the friend like that. Hendry pointed the knife at her. He told the man, "If you don't leave, I'm going to stab you." Police were contacted and Hendry was later arrested in his vehicle. He later pleaded guilty to assaulting his ex at a property in Redburn, Bon Hill, pushing her on the body, causing her to fall on the floor to her injury. It was aggravated by being against his partner or ex. Hendry, previously of Saltmarket, Glasgow, and now Church Place, Old Kilpatrick, also admitted acting in an aggressive manner, brandishing a knife and uttering threats of violence. At Dumbarton Sheriff Court on July 22nd, his defence solicitor said it was the first time his client had been charged with a domestic or violent offence. He had had 2 previous relationships without issue. He does appear to accept responsibility for his actions, said the solicitor. He presents as someone not in the habit of acting this way. He added that Hendry had remorse and insight. Sheriff Maxwell Hendry said, "This was a serious matter and could have resulted in goodness knows what." He put him under social work supervision for 12 months and ordered him to do 100 hours of unpaid community work. And he imposed an order banning any contact with the woman for 5 years, and he must not enter Bon Hill in that time. That article was written by Tristan Stewart Robertson. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 28th of July 2025, from the news section. New 20 mph speed limit introduced in Eastern Bartonshire. Report by Beth Oliver. A new 20 mph speed limit will be introduced on more than 300 roads in Bearsden. The change, which comes into effect on September the 8th, is part of a wider move by East Dunbartonshire Council to reduce traffic speeds and improve road safety. It follows public consultation earlier this year, during which residents were invited to share their views on the proposal. The new speed limit will apply to the entire length or part of the length of more than 300 roads across the town. This includes all residential streets as well as main roads such as the A739 Switchback Road / Bearsden Road, northbound and southbound, the A809 Drimmen Road, and the A81 Mulgai Road. A full list of affected roads can be found on the East Dunbartonshire Council website. Any person wishing to question the validity of the 20 mph speed limit order or any provision within it, because it is not within the powers conferred by the Road Traffic Regulations Act 1984, or that any requirement of that Act or any relevant regulation has not been complied with, may make an application to the Court of Session within 6 weeks of July 24th. In a separate development, a temporary road closure will be in place on Station Road, Bearsden, from August the 4th to September 22nd. The closure is required to allow for works to be carried out on or near the road. It will affect the section of Station Road between its junction with the A809 Drimmen Road and its junction with the access to the private car park for the cooperative food shop. During this period, no vehicles will be permitted to use this section of the road except for those engaged in the works. Alternative routes will be signposted and will include the A809 Drimmen Road, Roman Road, the A81 Mulgai Road, McFarlane Road, Canningsburn Toll Roundabout, Canningsburn Road, Pendicle Road and Station Road. Temporary traffic signals, incorporating a pedestrian crossing facility, will also be in operation on the A809 Drimmen Road between its junction with Station Road and its junction with Lead Carmock Road. These will be in place from August the 4th to September 22nd and will be manually controlled between 7am and 7pm each day. The council has warned the use of traffic signals may result in delays to traffic in the area. More details of the road closure and alternative routes can be found in the Public Notice portal online. That article was written by Beth Oliver and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 30th of July 2025, from the news section. Orange Order Statement After Scottish Government Meeting by Stuart Patterson. The Orange Order and a Scottish Government Minister have met to discuss concerns over hate crime, vandalism and assaults. Andrew Murray, Grand Master, Edward McGonnell, Senior Deputy Grand Master, and David Walters, Executive Officer, met with Siobhan Brown, Minister for Victims and Community Safety. The meeting was arranged after the Order said it was worried about increasing hate crimes targeting the Orange and wider Protestant community. It said, "These crimes are now running at an all-time high in comparison to other religious groups." The Orange Order called for the Scottish Government to set up cross-community working groups from all denominations and none to understand and respect each other's culture and way of life. Following the meeting, a spokesperson said, "We raised serious concerns including anti-Protestant vandalism, physical assaults and a recent shooting incident in Kelvin Grove involving 8 of our members. We also voiced concern on a broader political response, claiming that no political party is addressing the rise in anti-Protestant hate crimes. The Grand Orange Lodge calls for direct engagement with the First Minister and other political leaders and meaningful action from the highest levels of government and Holyrood." The organisation said it wants the Hate Crime and Public Order Act to explicitly recognise the Protestant community, particularly smaller groups like the Loyal Orange Institution, as entitled to protection under law. It also asked for government compensation and protection fund for properties damaged by religiously motivated hate crimes, and include financial support for installing CCTV for vulnerable organisations. It asked the government to provide funding for cross-community engagement and education projects, working in partnership with both faith-based and secular organisations. Other calls include establish a formal working group comprising the Scottish Government, Police Scotland and the Loyal Orange Institution to develop effective strategies for preventing and prosecuting anti-Protestant hate crimes, ensure Protestant representation in all future government consultations and panels dealing with hate crime and social cohesion, encourage responsible media engagement, calling on Scottish media outlets to cease the demonisation of our community and instead help raise awareness of the challenges we face. The Scottish Government has been contacted for comment, and that article was written by Stuart Patterson. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 30th of July 2025, from the news section. Prisoner wore makeshift body armour in slash attack. Report by Connor Gordon. A prisoner who scarred a fellow inmate for life had his sentence extended this week by 18 months. Anthony McKellar, 31, repeatedly slashed Graham Martin at HMP Low Moss, East Dunbartonshire, on January 24th. The brutal attack took place amid claims that Martin threatened McKellar. It was later discovered that McKellar had worn a makeshift body armour made from magazines before striking Martin. McKellar pleaded guilty at the Glasgow Sheriff Court to assaulting Martin to severe injury and permanent disfigurement. The court heard that McKellar was convicted in July 2023 with an earliest release date of April 2029. On the day of the incident, Martin sat in the prisoner's communal area and McKellar was released from his cell meantime. McKellar, who was dressed in a bathrobe, had his hand in one of the pockets. Prosecutor Victoria Keel said, "He walked towards Martin, removed his hand and made repeated slashing motions towards him. Martin immediately jumped up and raised his arm in defence. McKellar made further slashing motions to Martin's head and neck area. Prison officers attempted to separate the pair who were engaged in a struggle. The weapon, which was a lollipolly stick with a razor on the end of it, was recovered from the ground. McKellar said, "He thinks I'm a dafty. I'm not a dafty, I got to him first." Miss Keel added, McKellar was found to be wearing several layers of clothes under the dressing gown. He had a ripped magazine around his body which appeared to be makeshift body armour. Martin was taken to hospital where he was found to have suffered 11 separate injuries to his face and head. The doctor who treated him stated that Martin will be permanently scarred. Paul McCormick, defending, told the court that Martin had taken a dislike to his client despite not knowing each other. The lawyer added, "Martin visited my client's cell before the incident and shouted threats to him and would deal with his family. My client was told that he was a man who would carry out these threats. Mr. McKellar had been the victim of 2 separate attacks and he thought he was going to be subjected to a third attack." Sheriff Ian Fleming told McKellar when jailing him that it was a sustained attack with significant injuries and I need to mark this. The sheriff ordered McKellar's latest sentence to run consecutively to the one he is currently serving. That report was written by Connor Gordon and read by E. McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 28th of July 2025, from the news section. Rapist in jail after police approach 5 victims to snare serial abuser, by Grant McCabe. A thug has been jailed for 9 years after a large-scale probe into his serial abuse of women. Kenneth McCarran tormented a string of victims who suffered at his violent hands. 2 were raped by the 48-year-old. He told one afterwards, "I cannot believe you let me have sex." McCarran was arrested in 2020 after police approached a number of women previously known to him. A total of 5 victims then bravely reported abuse they had kept secret for years. McCarran was sentenced at the High Court in Glasgow. He had earlier pleaded guilty to a total of 7 charges of physical and sexual violence. Judge Douglas Brown also ordered he be supervised for a further 3 years on his release. McCarran, who already had previous convictions for offences against women, was also put on the sex offenders list. The crimes were committed between 1996 and 2019 at different addresses across Lanarkshire. The first victim had been grabbed by her throat and pinned to a bed. The thug only let go when this victim began to cry. He'd done the same again weeks later before going on to break her nose. The second victim told police how she had surprised him one day by visiting him and bringing him lunch. But McCarran flew into a rage as he had been with friends. He branded her a SL *T. Prosecutor Greg Farrell told the court. She was now terrified and repeatedly apologised. He was standing in front of the kitchen door and threw the roll she had bought him at her. He then grabbed her by the arm and pushed her out. She was visibly upset. On a later date, he accused her of sleeping with one of his friends, pinned her down and made to headbutt her. The third victim had her lip burst after he demanded to know where she had been. The woman recalled how she would then be assaulted most days, leaving her badly bruised. There were also threats that he would do her in. Mr. Farrell said, after these incidents, McCarran would sit next to her, kiss her, and tell her that he loved her. But on 2 occasions McCarran raped her. She did not want to have sex, but was too scared of being assaulted again. McCarran inflicted violence on another female by grabbing her and shoving her onto a bed. He preyed on the final victim, having met her on a dating site. The court heard he forced himself on the woman, who was also scared that if she refused he would flip his lid. Mr. Farrell said, she felt humiliated, tired and low in mood. Instead of resisting or saying no, she lay there not participating. Afterwards, McCarran said, I cannot believe that you let me have sex with you. McCarran would also turn up at the woman's work, accusing her of eyeing other men up. She once went on holiday with friends and he bombarded her with vile messages, including calling her a C*** and a W***. Mr. Farrell said, she felt ill and was terrified of him. On another occasion, he threatened to stab her on the grounds of the hospital after she had gone to visit a relative. The woman was also sent sick attention-seeking texts by him. She received messages from his phone saying that it's Genny's sister and that she had found him dead. There was another from his brother that McCarran had slashed his wrists and was in some mess. The court heard all the women involved had been approached by police and confirmed there were unreported incidents of abuse involving McCarran. McCarran was arrested in September 2022 following the probe. He was in HMP Berlin at the time. That article was written by Grant McCabe and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Monday the 28th of July 2025, from the news section. Renfrewshire Careers Advisor to retire after 43 years. Report by Beth Oliver. A woman who spent more than 40 years helping young people achieve their ambitions is set to retire. Leslie Mackay, a Skills Development Scotland SDS advisor, will retire this summer after dedicating 43 years to helping people achieve their career goals. Her career began in England, followed by a stint in Dundee, before settling in Renfrewshire, most recently at Parkmeads High School in Erskine. Reflecting on her career, Leslie said, one of the things I'm most proud of is that I can go back into any of the schools I've worked at and be welcomed as a careers advisor. To me, that's an achievement. It means you've done a good job and people appreciate what SDS does for them. Coming to work can make you really happy. All you need is someone to come back and say you really helped me, or thank you so much, or you made me sound really good when I applied to college. It's the joy in people's faces when you do just a wee thing to help them achieve their goals. Since starting her role in 1982, Leslie has seen many changes to the world of work, but she believes one factor has remained constant. Leslie said, young people are still the same. They still have the same aspirations, they've still got the same worries, and they still need the same support and encouragement. That will never change, and it's what we're here to do. Among the many students Leslie has helped is former Parkmeads pupil Caden Patterson, whom she helped secure a place on the drama course at West College, Scotland. He said, knowing I've got into the course with Leslie's support is mind-blowing. Words can't describe how appreciative I am, or how excited I am for this course to start in a new term. Leslie has also had a lasting impact on her colleagues, with Sharon Kelly, Head of Operations for the West at SDS, commending her dedication to the role. Sharon said, I'm pleased to have the opportunity to recognise Leslie's long service and dedication to her role as a careers advisor, during which time she's made a huge difference to the young people she's worked with. She's also shared her knowledge and experience with colleagues and partners, which many people have benefited from, leaving a lasting legacy. That report was written by Beth Oliver and read by Ian McKenna. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 30th of July 2025, from the news section. Sturgeon will do high-profile interview. The author of this article is unattributed. Nicola Sturgeon has agreed to a high-profile TV interview ahead of the publication next month of her eagerly anticipated political memoir. The former First Minister will be grilled by ITV News presenter Julie Etchingham for a special programme that will be broadcast at 7 p.m. on August 11th. Ms Sturgeon's book, Frankly, hits the shops on August 14. The interview will focus on the memoir's most striking revelations, delving into the ex-SNP leader's successes and controversies, personal insights and political flashpoints. It is being produced by the ITV News team responsible for previous key political interviews with former Prime Ministers, David Cameron in 2019 and Boris Johnson last year. Etchingham said, Nicola Sturgeon is quite simply one of the standout politicians of a generation. From her rise as a working class girl to the pinnacle of Scottish politics as first female First Minister, she has charted dizzying political heights to being hailed as the most dangerous woman in Britain. In what I hope will be a revealing encounter, I can't wait to see how Nicola Sturgeon lifts the lid on her politics, life and legacy, and to find out where she heads next. Sturgeon has declared nearly £200,000 in outside earnings since standing down from the top job in Scottish politics. Her book, Frankly, is expected to lift the lid on her 9 years as Scotland's leader and the breakdown of her friendship with the late Alex Salmond. According to her Holyrood Register of Interest, she received £75,000 in 2023 from publishers Pan Macmillan for the first of 4 instalments of a book advance. The author of that article was unattributed. From the Glasgow Times, Wednesday the 30th of July 2025, from the news section. Thug brother of Chris Donald's racist killer jailed over brutal attack. Report by Conor Gordon. A thug brother of Chris Donald's racist killer was jailed today for 27 months after a brutal assault at a funeral. Ahsan Shahid, 40, punched Usman Munir, 36, outside Glasgow's Masjid-e-Kizara Mosque on October the 4th, 2023. Shahid was enraged after Mr Munir previously referred to his wife as a yummy mummy in a message. Shahid's brother is Imran Baldi Shahid, who is serving a minimum of 25 years for the brutal killing of 15-year-old Chris in Glasgow in 2004. The dad of 5 previously offended with wife Nafisa in 2018 when they conned victims out of £250,000 by tricking them into revealing their account details. The pair used the money to buy numerous designer watches, handbags and other luxury goods. But after their scam was smashed, the items were confiscated by officials using proceeds of crime laws. Shahid, of Thornley Bank, East Renfrewshire, was sentenced to 5 years for the scam, while Nafisa received 22 months for her part. He was also jailed for 3.5 years in 2009 for his part in a violent gang feud in which Shahid attacked 2 men. Shahid pleaded guilty today to his latest offence of assaulting Mr Munir to his severe injury and permanent impairment. The court was told the 2 men had history with each other which involved messages. After Mr Shahid's aunt's funeral at the mosque, Mr Munir put his hand out towards him in an attempt to shake it. Prosecutor Daniel McGuinness said, Shahid immediately punched Mr Munir to the face, causing him to fall in the road. Shahid fled the scene, leaving Mr Munir to be helped by members of the public before he later attended hospital. He was found to have suffered multiple jaw fractures which required surgery. 3 plates and screws were inserted which were later discovered to have become infected, which required a further procedure. Mr Munir continued to suffer from swelling until July 2024, when he was given the all clear. However, a doctor stated that Mr. Munir's dental bite would change and he would feel a sensation to his lower lip, chin and tongue. Pat Campbell, defending, said, "Weeks before the meeting, Mr. Munir sent pictures of Mr. Shahid's wife and children, which referred to her as a yummy mummy. This caused his wife some upset, and she expressed that to Mr. Shahid. When Mr. Munir made the gesture described to Mr. Shahid, he misinterpreted the handshake as an attempt to strike him. Sheriff Paul Reed told Shahid when jailing him that he can't ignore his criminal record." That article was written by Connor Gordon and read by E. McKenna.
From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 29th of July 2025. From the news section. Body found in search for missing Ardrossan man, Jamie Conn. And this article was written by Amy Miles. A body has been found in the search for a missing man. Jamie Conn was last seen in Queen's Drive of Ardrossan yesterday, July the 28th at around 5 a.m. Police confirmed last night that the 49-year-old's body had been found and that the death isn't being treated as suspicious. A Police Scotland spokesperson said, Jamie Conn, 49, who was reported missing from the Ardrossan area since Monday, July the 28th, 2025, has been found deceased. His family are aware. The death is not being treated as suspicious and a report will be sent to the Procurator Fiscal. And that article was by Amy Miles, read by me, Caroline. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday the 29th of July 2025. From the news section. Homeless Glasgow teenager put in hostel dorm full of men. And this article was written by Stuart Patterson. A teenage woman was put in a shared dorm with men in a hostel after going to a council for help when she was homeless. The woman, who we are not naming, said she was so frightened by the thought of sleeping there she had to leave. It is understood she was put in the hostel with mixed-sex dorms as there were no available hotel vacancies due to events taking place in the city. The Glasgow Times has highlighted the plight of women trying to secure suitable emergency accommodation and the lack of female-only hotel and B&B space in the city. The 19-year-old woman was homeless and had been relying on friends letting her stay over before she went to the council to ask for help. She was given a bed in a hostel, but when she entered the room, she was shocked. Speaking to the Glasgow Times, she said, "I was so frightened. I have been through grooming and have been sexually assaulted before. I didn't know what to do. I asked my friend to phone to get me out. I was told they couldn't move me out and couldn't move me to a room on my own." The frightened teenager wrestled with the dilemma of having nowhere to go but knowing she couldn't stay in the dorm. She said, "I went out to the front and sat outside crying. People were staring at me, so I went back in and sat on the bed. The room was empty now apart from one man. I couldn't stay there, so I got my things together and ran. I can't believe they put a 19-year-old woman in there with men. I was told they were full everywhere else." The council has apologised for any distress and has reviewed the case. For around a week she had to rely on friends willing to put her up for a night here and there and had to travel as far as Greenock and East Kilbride. She said, "I have no money to my name," and added friends had been helping with food. The young woman also has a diagnosis of autism spectrum disorder, ASD, learning difficulties and anxiety and depression. With the help of Govan Law Centre, she has since been moved to a single room in a hotel. A spokesperson for Govan Law Centre said the woman described the fear she experienced entering the hostel accommodation. Not only was she placed in mixed-sex accommodation, she was advised that she would require to share a mixed-bed dormitory. She advised that she went to the room and was she was allocated, and it was full of men, and she felt terrified by the experience. She describes being offered a top bunk bed to sleep on. She asked to switch to a single room, and this request was refused. In the end, she had no choice but to leave the temporary accommodation that night. This heavily impacted our client's mental health, given her experiences of trauma, and required her to seek help from others in order to avoid rough sleeping that night. It is deeply concerning that the local authority did not appear to have any safeguarding measures in place or undertake any risk assessment regarding the placement and the potential harm this could have caused our already vulnerable client. A spokesperson for Glasgow City Council said, "The Council faces extreme challenges in relation to demand for emergency accommodation for homelessness households, and as soon as we were aware of the unsuitability of the accommodation, alternative accommodation was arranged. This case has been reviewed to ensure appropriate future safeguards are in place. We are very sorry for any distress this has caused." And that article was by Stuart Patterson. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday, the 29th of July 2025. From the news section. Glasgow City Council's phone system down for 10 hours. And this article was written by Amy Miles. Glasgow City Council's telephone systems were down for 10 hours, leaving calls from the Community Alarm Telecare Service unanswered. The Community Alarm Service is a vital lifeline that enables elderly people, individuals with disabilities and those with health issues to summon help in an emergency. Users wear a pendant with an emergency button, allowing them to contact a 24-hour call centre from anywhere within their home. Call handlers can then alert family members, the police or the fire service as needed. According to the council, although call handlers could see that calls were being received, they were unable to answer them. The council assured residents that it took immediate action by contacting family members and dispatching responders to check on the welfare of community alarm users. The system has since been fixed, with all of the systems working. In a statement posted on social media, the council said, "All incoming calls to council services have been affected. Our alarm receiving centre can see calls coming in, but cannot answer them. This includes calls from service users with a community alarm. We will send responders to check on their well-being." And that article was written by Amy Miles. From the Glasgow Times on Tuesday, the 29th of July 2025. From the news section. Scottish SPCA Dumbarton Centre running low on supplies. And this article was written by Amy Miles. A local animal charity is pleading with the public for help as it is running low on essential supplies. The Scottish SPCA Centre in Dumbarton made the plea for blankets and towels at the centre and is urging anyone who can to help them out. The animal welfare charity is looking for clean blankets and towels with no holes to be provided. However, duvets and pillows can't be accepted, as the stuffing can be harmful to animals if ingested. We are asking that donations be made directly to the centre's reception, which is open 7 days a week from 11 to 4 p.m. The charity made the appeal on social media, which read, "Our Dumbarton Centre is running low on blankets and towels. If you have any spare that you would like to donate to our animals, you can drop off at centre between 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. every day. We'd be grateful to receive clean blankets and towels with no holes. We can accept fleece blankets and crochet blankets. We cannot accept duvets or pillows as the stuffing can be harmful for our animals if ingested, but we can accept the covers. Thank you so much. We're always so grateful for anything we receive." That article was written by Amy Miles.
That concludes this week's edition of the Glasgow Times podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels at Q and Review and to tell your friends about our service.